Welcome to our first real tutorial on Reaper. Now we'll get to business. As you probably have done so after our first introduction, you should have downloaded the tutorial assets which are available on Google Drive. I made that available for you here on the Assets Reaper Learning Tutorials. You can download this whole folder in one time, which is a good thing to do in Google Docs, in Google Drive with this button here. I did it already, so not to waste any time, and organized it on my computer in this folder up here. So what are we going to learn in this first tutorial, which is called Hello Reaper? Open, save, backup and project folder structure. So what we are first going to do is how to open a project file. Actually, if we have the project file available here, as in our folder tutorial 1a, we have a file with an extension .rpp. .rpp stands for Reaper project file. So if we double click on this one, it will probably open Reaper. The RPP file actually describes the whole session of the whole project of what you are actually working upon. It does not contain any media files, so there is no audio in it and there is no video in it. It is not a complete self-contained file, but it describes all the movements you make, all the automation lanes, which we'll come to later, which assets are actually used, what audio files are in it, how long they are, what the fades are used, how long the fades, the fade-ins and the fade-outs and the crossfades, all these kinds of things are basically described in this project file.
So it's basically references to the audio.
It's only references, yeah, it's referential.
Otherwise it would be a big file.
Otherwise it would be very big, yeah. So what do we see when we open Reaper for the first time? We have like several windows over here. I'll hover over it with the mouse. This window over here is a Screenset Window, which is very handy for some things. We'll come to that later. It's not part of this tutorial. We have a video window over here, which we also will come back to later. And for now, we have our audio window down here. This is actually our audio editor. So, what can we do with this? Well, first we wanted to show you how to save a file. It's a pretty important thing. Of course, there is the method on the file menu, which you can save it. But since Reaper is a very strong program for all kinds of keyboard shortcuts, we really recommend you start to work with keyboard shortcuts from day one. So that is more or less today. So we give Apple a Command S in the case of if you're on a Mac, and Ctrl S if you are on Linux or Windows. So we have saved our file, so this is going to be really good. What we also would like to recommend is that if you are working with files like this, we would like you to keep to a certain convention of how to name it. And the naming convention we would like to recommend, because it makes it really easy to find things back later on, is to use the full year, the full month, and the full day. So, like today, it is would be 2020, 2020, 09 for September, 15 for the 15th of September. So, if we are going to put this into practice, we can go either to the file menu and save the project as, or we can do it on a Mac with Command Option S, save this, We're going to save it as 2020-09-15, and we are not going to use spaces in our file names because they can really mess up things pretty badly when exchanging. Also, we're not going to use any special characters like u, ö. Everything with an umlaut is actually pretty much forbidden.
And I guess especially when you work on different operating systems, like
Yes,
Linux and
exactly.
Windows.
It makes the exchange very difficult if you're not all working on the same OS. Yeah. And we're going to name this my underscore project. Ooh. Without the spelling failure. And we have the RPP file, which is the extension for Reaper, as we said before. So here we go. We have, as you can see here in the top, our name and our project name. Our date and the project name. Another recommendation we would like to promote is the use of versioning. That's very easy in Reaper because under the file menu you can find save a new version of this project. So again, promoting keyboard shortcuts. This is on a Mac done with Apple Option, Shift and S all at the same time. The S for the last. And then you can see that in the project folder we had been working, our my project file has been extended, at least its file name has been extended with a 1. And this is a very handy feature for saving the work of the day and starting fresh on the next. Okay, our next subject in this tutorial is to import audio. Actually, it doesn't really matter if you import audio or media or video in Reaper because it's handled more or less the same way, but for video we'll come back to that in more detail later. First, we are going to have a look at an audio file, which you can see is outside of our project file. The project file is over here. The audio file is over here. And we can just drag this into Reaper, this WAV file, audio. You can see that it makes a track. The track is named directly after the title of the file name of the WAV file. And as we showed in our introduction video, the configuration file already takes care of the making of an extra folder in our project folder, which is called audio. And the file which we have just imported is copied there. And this is very practical, of course, because it means that all the audio you're going to import or all the media files you're going to import in Reaper are always copied inside your project folder. And this makes it very easy and very portable at the same time. Because if you want to exchange your project with somebody else, you can just zip this folder up and you have everything as you wanted to have it available for somebody else. And as you might have noticed before, in our Reaper file, the backups are made automatically every 5 minutes, which is seeable here. Also for backup files we provided a special folder. You don't need to think about it, but as long as you know that actually the backup files are available in that folder, you're good to go. So if something goes wrong, if something is not working out, if a project file won't open anymore, you can always go to the latest backup file and get all your data back from there.
Do you quickly want to show the project settings where the folders are stored?
Sure. That's very easy. It's also like the normal command to get to preferences, which is command comma. That is generally where what we already have seen before, how to import your configuration. It shows where paths are being established, and it shows a lot of other things which we are not going to handle right now because they go way in depth, and basically we have been taking care of how to put this configuration file and your preferences together that it will be easily workable for everybody. This was the preferences. That's global preferences, so that means that it's used for all the projects you're working upon. But you can also work on a per project basis if you go to File, Project Settings over here, which will show you, for instance, your project sample rate. For video, this is standard on 48,000 hertz, or in other words, 48 kilohertz. That's the standard sample rate. It must be like this. Please check, and if it doesn't, change it to 48 kilohertz. For video, the standard in our studio here at the HSLU is 24 frames per second, so please check that that's checked as well. You can define your own audio path, which can be relative. If it's relative, then you have to be sure that there is no slash in front of it. So take care that that's being taken care of. And you can also make notes on this project, which can be handy if you work with more people on one project. You can type in something here. You can click this box here to show the notes on project load. So if somebody opens up your project and you made some remarks in here, it can be read when opening up Reaper. So that's, I think, basically about it, what I have to tell you in this tutorial for now. Our next tutorial will be Hello Reaper, audio device settings. See you then.